The S10 Lite, the Note 10 Lite, and the Galaxy A71 are three similar phones from Samsung, but what are the differences and are any of them right for you? What's going on? My name is Spencer. You can see I gave myself this quarantine haircut. If the camera picks it up, I messed up pretty good right there. But anyway, this channel is all about looking at tech through a real-world lens. Today, that means trying to help you decide if any of these Samsung phones are for you. These phones have a lot in common physically, so I'm going to talk about the similarities, tell you who I think the phone is targeted at with the strengths of each device, and if I think it's worth your money. You ready? Let's go. All three of these phones have the same screen size. It looks like Samsung used that same glass piece on all three of these phones, they just have different screens underneath them. All three have a 6.8-inch screen with that hole punch camera in the middle, and that's kind of where the physical similarities start and stop. The Note 10 Lite is the thickest and heaviest, the A71 is the thinnest and lightest, excluding that camera bump, and the S10 Lite is kind of somewhere in between. The Note and the A71 both have a headphone jack, where the S10 Lite does not, and the S10 Lite does feel the most premium to me. It kind of has those chamfered edges around the side, which used to be on flagships a couple years ago, and I would love to see make a comeback. Now, diving into the differences, let's start with the A71. This phone is the lightest, but it does feel kind of plasticky, which I don't mind at all personally, but I know some of you probably will. The biggest strength of the A71 is the screen on time. It gets about 8 to 10 hours screen on time, which for me is great. I usually say about 6 hours is what you need to get through a full day. Your mileage will obviously vary, but I use my screen at about 40 to 50% brightness. I do a lot of podcast and audio streaming with a little bit of YouTube streaming mixed in there, so take that for what you will. The other good thing about this phone is it has a headphone jack. Now, unfortunately, that's kind of where the good stuff stops. The bad about this phone is everything else is just kind of okay. Like, the performance is just okay, the camera's just okay, the screen is fine. It's actually my second favorite screen in the bunch, which might surprise some of you, but this was my second favorite screen. And then the charging speed too is just fine. You know, nothing spectacular about this phone. Everything's just kind of meh, with the battery being solid. One thing that's not good or bad with the A71, just something you should know about, is the clear case is just weird. What I mean by that is the case does not fully cover the camera bump. Even when you set the phone face down and have the case on, that camera's still touching the table, so you could still scratch the lens. Next up, the Note 10 Lite, and this one's going to be brief. The good part about this phone, it has an S Pen. That's it. The bad about this phone, the camera's just meh. The battery life is atrocious. I mean, less than 5 hours screen on time for me. Like I said, 6 hours is my minimum a phone has to hit to be acceptable day-to-day usage. And then it's also the thickest, the heaviest, and the performance was just atrocious. I don't know what Samsung is doing, but their Exynos chips do not age well at all. So just don't buy this phone. For the love of God, don't buy the Note 10 Lite. It's garbage. Last but not least, the S10 Lite. The good about this phone, the screen looks the best out of all three. It looks like a great Samsung OLED screen. I really enjoyed using the screen on this phone. The cameras are also actually pretty decent. A phone with this price tag, I have no complaints about the cameras whatsoever. Battery was good enough. I got about that 6 hour screen on time mark that I mentioned earlier, which is good enough for me to get through a full day. And the performance was decent. The best way I can describe it, if you've ever used an iPhone, it felt like that. You know, not breakneck quickness, but it was smooth. It didn't feel like it lagged at all. It was just kind of like that iOS feel. Not super fast, but smooth. The bad with the S10 Lite, it still charges pretty slow, there's no headphone jack, and there's just better options on the market at this price point, in my opinion. Let's wrap this one up and give you my opinion on if you should buy any of these three phones. Starting with the A71, maybe. If you're looking for battery life, it's going to be tough to beat this phone at the price point, but the camera and performance is pretty easy to beat, especially if you're on a GSM carrier and you can look at Oppo or OnePlus or Xiaomi or Huawei. You get the idea. It's just not a great package for the money, in my opinion, but if you like Samsung and you want great battery life, the A71 is a good enough choice. The Note 10 Lite, should you buy it? Absolutely not. Maybe if you want to, just no. Just no. 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 Samsung's trying to do some BS marketing like, hey, this phone is only 500-ish bucks. It's not $1,000 like our normal Notes. It's got the S Pen. Buy it for the S Pen. Buy it, buy it, buy it. And it sucks. Just save yourself the time and money and just don't buy it. The S10 Lite, everything about the S10 Lite was just good enough. Nothing really blew me away at the price point. Camera was fine, performance, battery, screen, all those things were fine. The in-screen fingerprint sensor was the best of all three of these phones, but again, just kind of fine if you've used a OnePlus or a Huawei or even an LG in-screen fingerprint sensor. But if you're somebody who really wants to have a Samsung, then sure, the S10 Lite is a good enough phone for the money. Just you can find a lot better things out there, especially if you're on a GSM carrier, for the money of the S10 Lite. That does it for this one though. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. You have no idea how much that helps me. And let me know in the comments down below which phone you want to see next. Thanks again. See you in the next one.